Hello, my sweet, beautiful friend. Namaste. Welcome. I'm here with a cup of tea and a new topic for you. I wanted to chat a bit about writing today because a lot of you are creative writers and I myself am a creative writer, and I wanted to share something I've been thinking about lately, and that is this idea that we can actually use our craft and use our art, our writing practice as a spiritual practice, a spiritual tool that actually enables us to become more mindful. I like to call it a meditative way of writing. And so what does that mean exactly? I think there's a lot of ways that writing can become meditative. Meditation, that word often evokes this imagery of sitting cross-legged in a very peaceful position for an extended period of time and meditating. And that can be a wonderful image to have in your mind, but it can be so much more than that. It can be simply bringing our complete awareness in a very peaceful, grounded way to exactly what we are doing right now in this moment. I practice martial arts and also yoga, and a lot of the principles in those two things are centered around this idea that we can have moving meditation. Yoga often incorporates this idea that through these movements, through your breath and bringing your mind to your breath, to your movement, you're actually practicing a moving meditation because you are completely grounded, completely centered in the moment. You're just paying attention to your breath and your body, staying completely centered. So as I practiced yoga and martial arts, specifically karate and qigong, it made me begin to realize I can take these mindful principles that allow me to tap into this moving meditation, and I can apply that to my art. I can apply that to my workflow, my creative flow, the things that I have to tick off my to-do list every day. I can actually bring a sense of mindfulness to my work. And that was such a revolutionary idea for me, because sometimes we don't have time to sit down for a half hour or more and meditate. Sometimes we feel like we have to segment this separate time to really get into a deep meditation. And that can be wonderful, but if we don't have the time, it's almost a sense of guilt, like you're not able to really delve that deeply into these meditative concepts. But when we apply them to our workflow and to our creative flow, to our creative writing, we can actually experience meditation at any moment, any time. So a few things that I do to bring the meditative aspect to my writing, I have a few notes. Most of them are questions that I like to ask myself. I like to ask myself, what is my focus? What is my drishti? And drishti is a word used in yoga for a certain focus point when you're doing a balance, like tree pose or warrior three, something a bit tricky, where you need to really keep your gaze fixed on one thing that is still, that is not moving. It's your point of focus. And I found that in my writing, when I asked myself, what is my focus? What is my drishti? It was all over the place. I would often be thinking about a scene much further down the road, wondering when I was going to get to that, and also thinking about things I needed to go back and add, thinking about the balance between characters, the dialogue that I was writing, and what needed to come next, what needed to come 3 chapters from now. My mind would be all over the place. But yet when I experienced my best writing, it was when I was completely in just that one word, that one sentence, that one paragraph. I wasn't thinking about the whole book. So ask yourself, what is my focus right now? Can I narrow my focus to just this one word? And suddenly your practice begins to become meditative. We're not thinking about the next paragraph or the next chapter. We're just thinking about this next word. It's kind of like the practice of mindful walking, which is something that I've been trying to incorporate more into my life as I've been getting out for some walks here in Vermont on sunny days, is paying attention to each and every one of your footsteps and what the ground feels like beneath your feet. And slowing the mind down, just focusing on that one step, your foot making connection with the earth. Because walking is this very basic thing that we often overlook. We don't really think about each of our footsteps. So it's a way of slowing yourself way down to this really macro lens of just focusing on that next footstep. So let's bring that into our writing. What is our focus? Where is our focal point? Just that next word. Just this sentence. That's what I like to ask myself. That's what I like to remind myself, is to focus on just the next word, not the whole book, not the next several paragraphs, just this one word. What word am I writing right now? And what meaning does this word bring to the sentence? Thinking about that, tapping into each of your words has power. Our words release power. It's a spiritual law, really, and as writers, we have this sacred responsibility to return to this idea that words wield power. So whether we're speaking to someone or whether we're writing a book, each word has meaning, has power. So think about, what am I communicating here? What am I bringing to this sentence, to this character? What meaning does this sentence have? And again, it just causes you to slow down, to think about the deeper meaning in this one sentence. How often do we just fly through several pages without really thinking until we go back and, go through the editing work? That's when we start to hone in more on each meaning and the structure. But what if we slowed down a little bit and thought about, what exactly am I trying to say here? What meaning do these words bring to this sentence? Another question, and it tags on very well to what I just shared, is what exactly in its purest form am I communicating here? Because we can often put pressure on ourselves to match a certain style or find some sort of like stylistic, flowery, or just getting really lost in the style, right? We're trying to make sure like it sounds really artful and well spoken, well written. We want people to be wowed by what we've just written, but is it what we're trying to communicate? Is this really giving voice to our truest intention? Because we never want to sacrifice meaning for just making it sound good, So that's another thing. And I use that tool a lot. I ask myself that question a lot. What exactly am I trying to say here? And I find that whenever I'm a little bit, if I get stumped on a certain sentence, mid-sentence, like, wait a second, that's a little too much. That's not exactly what I'm trying to say. I stop everything and I'm like, okay, backspace that. What exactly in its purest form am I trying to say? And really just ground for a second. Let that come to your mind. And whatever that first gut instinct is, go with that and just write that. And what that does, in my opinion, is it connects you, it reconnects you to that innermost creative, that creative voice, without any layers of what your writing needs to be or what you hope it is or what you're comparing it to. We're setting that aside and we're turning to what is that gut instinct. Because most likely that is what you're trying to say. That is what you're trying to communicate. And you just need to pause, breathe, center, remind yourself that it doesn't have to live up to any expectation that anyone else has. You can let negative self-talk go, whether it's your own negative self-talk or something that you picked up from somewhere else. We can let go of that. We don't have to hang on to that. And I think as we begin to remind ourselves of this more often, it helps us to center in who we truly are creatively, to tap into our own creative voice. So that's a question I ask myself all the time. What exactly in its purest form am I communicating here? What is my intention for this one sentence? What is my truest intention with what I'm trying to communicate right here? Not 3 paragraphs from now, not a chapter from now, but right here, right now. Connect with the meaning. Connect with your intent for this story. And my sister and I talk about this all the time in the Kate and Abby show. A lot of you listen to our podcasts who are creative writers. But what is your truest intention for this book? Why does it matter to you? And if you can tap back into that, your intention for this book, your intention for this character, your intention for what they're saying in the sentence right here, right now. It can just help you to find that voice. And that's something that's talked about a lot in the writing realm, is finding your character's voice and finding your own voice within the story as the storyteller. And I think we find that when we tap back into what our original intention for the story is, why it matters to us fundamentally, why this captured our hearts and souls in the first place. So important. Focusing exactly on what you're writing in the moment. So just letting go of the next paragraph. And in Scrivener, which is the program I use for my writing, but there's other equivalents of this feature I'm about to mention that's called focus mode. You can turn it on and it will just highlight the one paragraph. So everything else is kind of frosted over and you're just looking at this one paragraph. I use this constantly. I never X out of this mode. I'm always in this mode in my document because it's so helpful in honing in your focus just to this one area that you're working on. We don't have to think of something 5 steps away. We just have to focus on what we're doing right in this moment. So I recommend trying that. If you have Scrivener or if you have something, a word processing program, a writing software that has some of these features, try focus mode where it frosts out the other area of your document and just helps you hone in on that one area. And then this came to me as well, guys. Resist the urge to judge, thus compartmentalizing and separating. So when we judge ourselves, we're compartmentalizing ourselves. We're separating ourselves from ourselves in a way, because we're like putting this one thing on display and now we're pulling back and analyzing that. So it's almost like splitting yourself up into groups and needing to analyze, needing to pass judgment. It separates you from your soul. It separates you from the rest of yourself. You are now in the seat of the critic rather than the creator. And it's so important to catch ourselves when we're doing that. We are also claiming a false identity and we are judging ourselves based on our actions. When we feel this need to judge and to pass judgment on whether a piece of writing is good or bad and get frustrated with ourselves, it's like we're claiming our actions are the art that we produce as our identity and our value. And we're actually basing our value on what we do, on what we create, on our level of productivity. And so our analysis and our judgment of how good we deem ourselves to be or how unproductive we might think ourselves to be is all dependent on our output. It's all dependent on what we create or don't create. And so that can change drastically from day to day. Now suddenly you have all this stress and all this pressure because you've chosen to split yourself up into these boxes and analyze and pass judgment and decide, okay, this day I was really happy with myself because I was able to produce a lot. I was able to tick off all the boxes on my to-do list. So therefore I'm happy. I'm calling that a good day. Over here, I have this day, I really didn't get a lot done. I really wasn't happy with my performance. It's performance-based living. It's treating ourselves like human doings, not human beings. And we're not here to judge ourselves based on our actions, based on what we create, based on our output. We are already sacred creators, loved and divine as we are right now, simply being. And when we remind ourselves of that even on the days where we don't write a lot or we don't have the best writing day ever, if we can bring that mindfulness back and realize, you know what, I can take all this pressure off myself and realize that I am already valuable and loved. Even on the days when I don't write a lot or I don't feel like this measures up to my past writing or someone else's writing, we can let go of all of that. We can let go of the comparison to our old work, to someone else's work, to what we wish it was. When we begin to fall into these traps of judgment and comparison, it's because we've left the present moment. We've left the simple act of just writing. We've left the seat of the creator and we've sat down in the seat of the critic. Now we have to judge, we have to analyze what we're doing, and we have to decide whether it's good or bad, whether it's enough or not enough, whether we're lacking or we're happy with how we have performed. We have to bring mindfulness to even our work, most especially to our work. Because it's not the moments that we, light incense and a candle and meditate and do yoga that, here's mindfulness. And when that's done, mindfulness that's checked off our schedule. Now we can move on to something else. We have to find this in the small moments of our everyday life. Mindfulness is truly just noticing what you're doing. I'm writing right now. Cool. Like literally just tapping into that. Like how many things do we do on a daily basis that we're not even aware that we're doing? We don't even think about it. Have you ever had that happen where you'll go through like some routine that you do, like getting up in the morning, making the coffee, making breakfast, bringing the dog out, and it's like you'll suddenly become aware at some point and be like, I don't even remember anything I just did. It was just all autopilot. And we're not even aware. We're not even aware of what we're doing. So if we can just tap into, okay, you know what? I get to write right now. I'm writing. I'm enjoying the act of writing. I'm focused on this one word. I'm focused on this one sentence. And I choose not to judge. I choose to simply enjoy, to simply allow myself to create without these restrictions and stressors of the need to step back and analyze and pass judgments. So those are a few things that have really helped me in my own writing journey, and I hope that there's something that you can use as a springboard to come up with some deeper thoughts of your own on your craft, because I believe so deeply that art is a spiritual communication to others and to ourselves. It's such a divine expression of what's within us. And I think we can tap into these deeper layers and find so much meaning, so much richness in them. Let me know what you think down in the comments below. I would love to hear your thoughts. What do you think of using writing as a meditative practice? Tapping into mindfulness through your own everyday workflow, finding glory in the mundane, the so-called mundane, right? It's all sacred. It's all so beautiful, and there's so much meaning if we just slow down and look for it. Thank you so much for being here with me. I'm so happy that this message could hopefully reach you and serve you in a positive way. If you enjoyed this video, it always means a ton when you share it, subscribe. I'd love to have you here in the community. And if you feel drawn to give to the channel in any way, you can find my Patreon and my Etsy shop below. I hope you have an absolutely beautiful rest of your day, my friend. I wish you so much joy in your journey, and I'll see you in the next video. Namaste.